name is Alexandra Nieto, and I'm actually a student in UTEP. I'm a senior in electrical and computer engineering, and I work at Learning Enviornments and in Gaia. So I requested to do this workshop because one of my main favorite things that I like to do is baking. I mean, I love engineering, I love that kind of stuff, but I love baking too. So right now I'm gonna start doing the tres leches chocolate cake, which is, I know everyone especially the people that come from Mexico knows the tres leches cake. But here in the US, they change a little bit the recipe and add a chocolate, which I think it tastes better for people that like chocolate like me, right? So I think when you sign up to the workshop, you get the recipe. But if not, I'm gonna just upload it to the chat so you can see the ingredients. And later I can type the whole recipe with the steps you have to follow. But here it is. I just put it on the chat. Okay. So, okay, I just uploaded it. Okay. So, I guess I'll begin doing it. So, okay, so the ingredient says we need different parts of ingredients, which is the cake. And then we need it for the tres leches and for the frosting. For the cake, I used 5 eggs, 100 grams of granulated sugar, which is the regular sugar you consume, like the raw sugar, right? And then 120 milliliters of milk. It can be fat-free, it can be any kind of milk, just not like almond or soy, not that one, right? 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's optional, but it gives you like a taste. And then 150 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of cocoa powder. You can use any cocoa. My favorite one, and the one we'll be using, is the Special Dark, because it gives more like a chocolate kind of taste. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And this one is really important, the baking powder, not to forget it, because it makes the cake rise up. Since we are not using any kind of pre-made mixture, you need to add the baking powder for it to rise up. And then for the tres leches sauce, we have condensed milk. I put it 300 milliliters, but you can use the whole can. If you want it not to be that kind of sugary, you can use half of it. And then 300 milliliters of evaporated milk and 300 grams, I put milliliters, 3 grams, of cream or media crema. Right now, I couldn't find media crema here on the markets here in El Paso, but I will replace it with heavy cream, which is basically the same. And for the frosting, you can use any kind of frosting, but the one I'm using right now, and the one I will be making right now, it's cream cheese and heavy cream frosting, which is with 60 grams of powdered sugar, 80 grams of cream cheese, and 300 milliliters of cream or media crema, which in this case I will be using heavy cream. So let's start making it. So first of all, what I will be doing is taking the flour and the cocoa powder. I did already the measurement, so I don't have to be measuring while I'll cook it for you guys. So first, we're gonna put this one. So I use this in order to avoid like the little crumbs that the flour has. So whenever you mix it, you don't have like these little things on the cake, right? So first, I'm gonna put out the sugar, all of the sugar, which is, like I told you, it's 150 grams. So I just add it like this. And for you to see it better, okay. So I'll be doing this. And you see the flour looks more like raffinated, more like less, with this crumble. So it's easier for the cake to rise and for the cake to have just that mixture. Like, it's easier for the mixture to blend in. So we keep doing this, and we do this for the cocoa powder too, and also with the baking soda or baking powder. or really, it's really important for you to know that you need the specific teaspoon of baking powder for the cake to rise. Otherwise, it will look like a tortilla if you don't add it. Okay, so we add the rest of it. It's gonna be like this. Okay, so we got out of the flour, and now we're gonna put the cocoa powder. Like I told you guys, I'm using the special dark. It's this one, just in case you wanna use the same. It's the special dark Hershey's cocoa powder. I have tried different ones, and for me, this one is the best because it leaves like the real chocolate taste, like if you're using raw cocoa powder. So I will be doing the same like I did with the flour, because this cocoa has a lot of like crumbles, and whenever you're making the mixture, it's hard for it to mix it, and then the cake won't rise as you want it to be, right? So I'll keep doing this. And then add the rest of the cocoa powder. Like this. Okay. And then the other ingredient I told you about, like we need to do the same, it's the baking powder. So I have exactly here 1 teaspoon. So I add it here, and we need to do the same like with the flour and with the cocoa powder. Now that we have these ingredients set up, what we're going to do is just mix them like this. You can use a spoon, you can use a fork, whatever, but you have to mix it very good. So you don't have to do it whenever you put the other ingredients. And we want all the ingredients to be all well mixed, so it can be like, doesn't have like when you have the cake, it doesn't have like one part without chocolate, because it doesn't seem like that happens, but that actually happens. It has happened to me a lot, and whenever I bake from scratch. So before you add the other ingredients, be sure to mix them very good. Okay, so for now, this is set. And this important step on the cake is how we prepare the eggs, right? So I have this bowl, and like in the recipe, we're gonna use 5 eggs, right? So this is very important. There's a thing we call in Mexico that is called a punto de turrón, which means we're gonna separate the yolk of the eggs and leave the rest, so we can actually mix it and create like this fluffy cream. And this helps a lot because it makes the cake to rise even better and to make it more fluffy. A lot of recipes don't have this, but in my personal opinion and my previous experience baking cakes, it gives a more fluffier taste. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Right now, I'm gonna show you how to, if you don't know, like how to separate the yolk from the other thing. So what I do is either you can buy a cooking utensil for that, or either you can do it by hand. That's how I do it. So I'm gonna show you how to do it. So we just break the cake like this, and carefully we put the yolk here and just leave this, right? It's very important that you don't leave any yolk, because otherwise it won't rise. So we're gonna be using the yolk, we're just separating it right now, okay? So remember, it's 5 eggs, but I'm just gonna do it 3 right now, since I have the other 2. So carefully, we separate it. And remember, no yolks from the egg, right? And since I have the other 2 here, let's finish with the 3rd one. Like I said, you have to be very careful. So if you don't feel like you can do this, you can use a bottle of water, which I used to do for this. I just take the yolk from the rest of the egg, right? Okay, so we have this. So right now I'm gonna use the mixer in order to make this fluffier. So whenever you know it's ready, You will know because when you try to move the mixture, it will move. That's called punto de turrón or punto de nieve. So that's where we're gonna do it right now. Okay, so if you can see, it's getting fluffier. So whenever you have this kind of fluffy, you're gonna add the raw sugar, like this, but not all of it. You're gonna keep doing like this, in high speed. Okay, so you see like the consistency of the egg, it totally changes. So it looks like fluffy right now. So if you can see, it still moves. So it's just 1 minute more till it doesn't move, just like it's kind of moving. So you don't have to move anything. So it's just 1 minute more, and then the next step is we're gonna be adding the egg yolks and the milk. But let's finish with this part. Okay, so I think we're set. It doesn't move anymore. So we're gonna then add the egg yolks. So it is important that we add it one by one because otherwise the mixture won't rise up. So let's just add it one by one in high speed. So we just have to add one egg yolk like this. Okay, so now that we have added the egg yolks, we're gonna start adding the flour, cocoa, and baking powder mixture, but just beginning with half of it, and then we're gonna add the other half. So we start adding it and doing it in low speed for now. Then before adding the rest of the mixture, we're gonna add the 120 milliliters of milk. So I have the milk right like this, and we're starting adding it. Okay, so now that we have added all the ingredients, it should look like a really strong dark chocolate color. Since I'm using that special cocoa, but it should look like this, like really, really dark. So now that we have the mixture, the other thing that we should do right now is, in my case, I'm using this non-stick pan, circular one. You can use any kind of recipient you have. It can be square, it can be one of these. But what I do is I put butter and then I put flour in order for it to non-stick, just to be safe, right? So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna grease this and then I'm gonna preheat the oven in it's 350 Fahrenheit and 180 Celsius. So whichever you use. So right now I'm gonna preheat the oven 350 Fahrenheit and it's gonna be cooking about from 20 to 25 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna preheat the oven right now. Okay. So just before we greased it, I'm gonna just mix it a little bit more. Just do not leave any kind of crumbles we have in it. Okay, so now we have our mix ready. And then we're gonna proceed to grease. So what I do is I always have these butter sticks. And what I do is I put it all over this. If you don't have this kind of butter, you can just grab a napkin and just put a little butter and then do it the same, like I'm doing it. So remember this step is really important if you don't want your cake to be all sticky in the pan and break whenever you take it out of the oven. You can always use another kind of paper. Some bakers just put like paper, I think it's waxing paper, and they just remove it, or use like non-stick recipients. So we add a little bit of flour. And what I do is I do it like this in order to cover all the spots, like this. To cover all the spots on the recipient for it not to stick. So I'm gonna do it right now, and then I'm gonna show you how it looks. So it looks like all white, all in the areas. If it doesn't like come out like really perfect all in all areas, it doesn't matter. It usually just not sticking this kind of recipients. I'm gonna throw away the rest of the flour down here. So what I'm going to do next is put my mixture. In the pan. So I put all of the mixture here first. Okay. And just take the rest that is being left here. It's kind of heavy. I'm gonna do this. So remember to not leave not a lot of mixture on the recipient. Okay, so now we have it. And we put this here. So now that we have our mixture, our cake batter on this, we're gonna proceed to put it on the oven that is preheated. And what I do in order to avoid bubbles on the mixture, I just tap it a few times in order for the cake batter to break those bubbles and to be in all of the recipients. So I do it several times. So I'm gonna put this on the oven, and then we'll be continuing doing the tres leches sauce and the frosting. Okay, so the tres leches sauce is really simple. What you have to do is just mix the ingredients. You can either do it by hand or you can do it with a mixer. But this time I'm gonna use this because it's way more simple. So for the sauce, what I'm gonna be using is condensed milk, evaporated milk, and heavy cream. I keep the heavy cream on the refrigerator because it's better if it's cold because the consistency it's way better. So we're gonna add all of the heavy cream. And then I'm gonna open the condensed milk. So actually the recipe for any tres leches cake makes you use either 300 milliliters of condensed milk or the whole can. But in my case, I don't want it to be too sweet because the cake is already too sweet because of the chocolate. So I'm gonna put half of it. And it tastes really good with only the half of it. And then, and then I'm gonna open the evaporated milk. And I'm gonna actually use all of the evaporated milk. The only thing I don't use all of it, it's the condensed milk. Because it's like the sweetener of the sauce. So I'm gonna use all of it. There's another recipe that you can actually use brandy, another kind of liquor if you want, because it gives you like a more different kind of taste. So this is the regular one, but right now I'm gonna use 3 milk sauce with chocolate, since it's three chocolate cake. But if you don't want it too sugary, you can skip this step. But I add a little bit of cocoa powder to the mixture in order to give it like the chocolate flavor. So I'm just gonna take this to the blender and I'm gonna mix it. Okay, so we have our sauce. So this step is really, really easy, if you can see. And it kind of looks like chocolate milk. You can see it right now. Okay, so we have our sauce ready. So what we're gonna do right now, and the last step, it's doing the frosting. As you can see, the actual original recipe for the frosting on the tres leches cake is crema chantilly or crema batida. But in this case, I'm gonna use crema batida as well. That you can say here heavy cream, and you can use. I'm gonna use Philadelphia cream cheese. So what I like to do on frosting is I take my bowl and I put it inside of the refrigerator to be really, really cold. Because the heavy cream, you cook it like in room temperature, hot temperature, it won't rise. And it will be like I don't know, this weird consistency, like gelatin. I don't know, it's really weird. So what I recommend is put your recipient on the fridge for about an hour so it can be really cold, and as well as the heavy cream. So right now my heavy cream is here, as well as my Philadelphia cheese. So like we did in steps before, I'm gonna do my heavy cream and my Philadelphia cheese. I'm gonna use all of it. What you can do too in this frosting, it's add cocoa powder. I may use it right now just to test how it tastes. I have done it before, but I don't usually do it with the tres leches cake. So to make it more sweeter, I put confectionate sugar, but you can skip this step if you're adding tres leches sauce and the chocolate is really sugary. So it's up to you if you want it to be sweeter or not. So I put the heavy cream on the fridge so it's really, really cold. So I'm just gonna open it and hopefully it doesn't, like, it's super, super cold. And it actually looks like ice cream. So I'm gonna use knife to open it. Okay, so I'm gonna put the heavy cream on the bowl, all of it. And it looks like kind of ice cream because I put it on the fridge for way too long, but it's way better this way. So it won't like have that consistency. I'm gonna put that, and then I'm gonna take the blender. Okay, so I'll be right back. So now we're ready, and we're gonna start with the heavy cream, the whipping cream. I use this kind of, you can do it on the blender. You can't do it. You can do it by hand, but it's really difficult, so I use one of this. Or if you have the one that are bigger ones, you can use that too. So I'm gonna start doing that, okay? Like ice cream, you have to rise up. Okay, so now it has rise up a little bit. I'm gonna add the cream cheese to the frosting. I put the cream cheese a little bit in the fridge, but too in the room temperature, because otherwise it's gonna be really hard for it to mix with the heavy cream. So it's not either on room temperature, but it's not that cold either. And here I have confectionery sugar. I'm just gonna put a little bit of it to give it like a sweet. So our frosting is ready whenever we combine the heavy cream and the Philadelphia, so it will look like this. Like if it was chantilly, but it has Philadelphia. So what I use to decorate the cakes, you can either just put it on the top, but in this case, for the tres leches, what I like to do is using this decorating sets for the cupcakes, and I use this tip, which is kind of like a star. If you know how to use this, it's really, it looks really good. So I use this tip. So I'm gonna be doing that right now, but I'm gonna show you how to put the three leches mix. So I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator in order for it not to be like hot. And I have a cake that I actually cooked earlier today because I know we wouldn't have time for you to see the one that came out from the oven. But I have this, so I'm gonna show you right now. So we have the three leches sauces here, chocolate sauce. And we have, this is the cake that I baked earlier. It's the same. So you see, this is the cake. It's this size, it's fluffy. So what I do for it to put the three leches sauces is I take a fork and I start doing this. This, what I'm doing right now is for the cake to have all the tres leches sauce. What I do too is like, I like to leave a little bit of it because whenever I serve it, I put sauce in the top as well. So we do this, we put this fork in all of the cake, and then we start spreading the sauce. Like this. So we put a little bit of the sauce and then we start spreading it. And the cake will eventually absorb all of the sauce. Like you can see here. And what a lot of people that bake this recipe do is like they put it like about 3 hours, they cover it and put it 3 hours in the fridge because it takes time for the cake to absorb the milk. You can see it keeps absorbing all of the milk. So we put a little bit more. So if you're gonna do it, just cover it with whatever kind of paper you have, or with I don't know what kind of recipient you have for that. So you can do it like that, put it overnight, put it 3 hours, and then you can serve it really, really cold. So that's what I do for the cake. But right now we don't have time to put it on the fridge and everything, right? So I just save a little bit of the, you can either put all of it, but I like my cake to have consistency. So I take this to the refrigerator. And right here. So now, if we don't have enough time for me to do all of the process of the putting the frosting, I have a picture to let you know how the cake should look like whenever you add the frosting. Because it may take a while to do it. So I'm gonna just put it on the chat right now. Let me see. Let me show you. Okay. It really takes a while putting the frosting in everything because it takes And for me, it was kind of hard when I started doing it, but then you get the hang of it and it's easy. Okay, so I'm gonna send you the picture for you to see how it looks. Just gonna put it on the chat. Okay, so it's okay. So let me know if you can see the picture on the chat. That's how the cake looks like with the frosting.
Oh, that looks so good.
Yes, I know we have limited time right now, so it takes a while to put it here and then doing all of the steps, but it's really easy whenever you have this. So you just put the frosting, put this inside, and I start doing like circle movements. But that's like kind of decoration class, which I take on YouTube. But it's really easy, and that's how the cake goes. So if you see like the brown spots, I just spreaded cocoa powder in the cake just to make it look pretty. But that's pretty much it. Takes one of the oven and one over here, so I probably eat a lot of it.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much all. It's really easy. You don't have to buy any cake mixture. It's straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of time in the oven, and that's some things that we already have in the kitchen. So it's really easy and it's really tasty.
Alexandra, I'm wondering if maybe you could answer Diane's question of, does putting the flour in the fridge help it last longer? Why do you do that?
The what? Excuse me? The flour?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Usually a lot of people have the flour outside, but for me, whenever I bake cakes, the flour when it's matter of how you think. Yeah, whenever you're baking, how it looks, right? But whenever I'm baking cakes, especially cupcakes or a little stuff, the mixtures rise a little bit more, and it's easier for me to mix it. I don't know why it happens. I know, for example, that the heavy creams or milk, it has to be refrigerated, otherwise it wouldn't look like this. It will be all, like water. But the flour, for it's my personal experience. I will put it on the fridge because it lasts longer and it's easier for the cake to mix and to rise up too.
Okay.
So also for the eggs, you have to be very careful with the yolks and separating from it, because yesterday I was cooking another type of cake, uh, and I missed a little bit of the yolk inside, and it actually didn't rise. It looks like a tortilla, and I'm like, why? Why does it happen? And I called my mom, and she told me, yeah, you have to be very careful, extra careful with the yolks of the egg to separate them. So I was like practicing with this because I don't have a tool. A lot of people use like the bottles, but I didn't like that idea because it'll leave a little bit of the egg yolk. So that step is you have to be very, very careful with that. Other than that, it's really simple and it's really fun to. I love baking, so it's really fun to do, and it's really, really tasty. That's the one I do on my brother's birthday and my birthday too.
Oh, so nice. It looks delicious. Thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, thank you. So I'm glad you liked it. I leave the ingredients. If you need the steps for it, just let me know. But I leave everything over there on the chat. And I think Carla has it too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I hope to see you girls again in another workshop.